Good afternoon. Myself M. Hari Prabhu, Assistant Professor, Triple E Department. So today we are going to discuss about induction motor drives. So in this induction motor drives, we have to discuss important topic like slip power recovery scheme. So in this topic, slip power recovery system, it can be classified into two types. One is Kramer system. The second one is Sherby system. So these two systems can be further classified into two methods. One is conventional method, the another one is static method. So in these types, that is the conventional Kramer system and then static Kramer system. And second one is conventional Sherby system. The second one is static Sherby system. Okay. So these two systems can be classified into the another two methods. One is conventional, the another one is static methods. Okay. This is Kramer system. So the Kramer system, which is applicable only for subsynchronous speed operation. Okay. So the classification of this Kramer system is conventional Kramer system. Second one is static Kramer system. Now we are going to discuss about first the conventional Kramer system. So in this conventional Kramer system, the circuit diagram, which consists of slip ring induction motor, slip rings, then coupling shaft, and then a DC motor. Here a field regulator, it represents R. It is a variable resistance, and then I have to give the external DC supply to this field, and then the DC motor and then the rotary converter is coupled. Okay, so that's all about the construction in this conventional Kramer system. So the slip ring induction motor, which is coupled to the shaft of the DC motor. Here the slip ring induction motor, which is coupled to this shaft of the DC motor by using this coupling shaft. Okay, so the slip rings are connected to the rotary converter. So the slip rings which is connected to this rotary converter. So the DC output of a rotary converter, which is used to drive a DC motor. So the rotary converter and the DC motor are excited from the DC bus bar or from an exciter. This is the DC supply or DC bus bar. You have to give the external DC supply to this rotary field and then the DC motor field. Okay, you have to give the external DC supply. There is a DC bus bars or from an exciter. You have to excite this rotary converter and a DC motor. Okay, and then the speed of the slip ring induction motor, which is adjusted by adjusting the speed of the DC motor. Okay, the speed of the slip ring induction motor can be adjusted by using this DC motor. You have to vary this field regulator. Okay, you have to vary the field regulator. You have to control the speed of the DC motor. The speed of the DC motor is controlled automatically. The DC motor and the slip ring induction motor is coupled. So if the DC motor speed is controlled, automatically the slip ring induction motor speed also controlled by varying the field regulator R. Okay, so this system is also called the electromechanical cascade because the slip frequency power, which is returned as mechanical power to the slip ring induction motor shaft by the DC motor. So if the mechanical losses in the cascade system are neglected, so the shaft power output of the slip ring induction motor is Pm equal to 1 minus S into Pin. Here Pin is nothing but the input power to the stator, S is nothing but the slip, and then the slip power Ps equal to S into Pin, which is added to the Pm, that is a mechanical power, by converting it to the mechanical power. Okay, by the DC motor. So this mechanical power which is fed to the slip ring induction motor shaft. Okay, so now the advantage of this Kramer system, that is the conventional Kramer system, is the first point is the main advantage is that any speed within the working range it can be obtained. Okay, and second one is if the rotary converter is over excited, it will take a leading current which compensate for the lagging current drawn by the slip ring induction motor, so which improves the power factor of the system. Okay, the next one is we have to discuss about the improved version of this conventional Kramer system, that is also called a modified Kramer system. Here we have to replace the rotary converter into a three-phase diode bridge rectifier or 3-phase controlled rectifier. Okay, if you are replacing the rotary converter into diode or SCR. Okay, that is the improved version of the Kramer system or modified Kramer system. So this is the modified Kramer system or improved version of the conventional Kramer system. Here we have to use the 3-phase diode bridge rectifier instead of the rotary converter. And then the slip ring induction motor, and then DC motor. Here the external supply, we have to vary this external supply to control the DC motor speed. If the DC motor speed is controlled, automatically the slip ring induction motor speed is also controlled, because the DC motor and slip ring induction motor is electrically coupled. So here the DC power which is fed to the DC motor. So there is DC motor is mechanically coupled to this slip ring induction motor. Here the slip power which is converted to mechanical power and which is fed back to the slip ring induction motor shaft. Okay, so the torque supplied to the load which is shared by slip ring induction motor and a DC motor. Okay, so the slip ring induction motor speed, it can be controlled by controlling the field regulator, that is field current. If you are controlling the field current of this DC motor, you have to control the speed of this DC motor as well as the slip ring induction motor speed. So in this method, the speed control range is synchronous speed to around half of the synchronous speed. Okay, so the speed range can be controlled in the range of synchronous speed to half of the synchronous speed. Okay, so now the 3-phase diode bridge rectifier can be replaced by controlled rectifier. Before that, we have to discuss about uncontrolled rectifier, that is a diode bridge rectifier. Now we are going to replace this diode bridge rectifier into controlled rectifier. Okay, that is thyristors. That is we have to replace the diode into SCR. The remaining things are same. So here the slip ring induction motor speed can be controlled from 0 to around synchronous speed, but in previous version here the synchronous speed to around half of the synchronous speed. But now the speed, the slip ring induction motor speed can be controlled from 0 to around synchronous speed by varying the firing angle of the thyristor rectifier. Okay, here we have to vary the firing angle to control the slip ring induction motor speed. Okay, this is the main advantage by using this 3-phase controlled rectifier when compared to the diode bridge rectifier. This is the modified version of the Kramer system. So now we move on to the static Kramer system. So in this static Kramer system, which is similar to that of modified Kramer system. So in this modified Kramer system, this is the circuit diagram of this modified Kramer system. But now here this is the static Kramer system. Here we have to control this firing angle of this inverter circuit. We have to include one additional block, that is a gate triggering processor. In this gate triggering processor, we have to give the desired speed and actual speed to this gate triggering processor. So here one side we have to connect the rectifier circuit, the another side we have to connect the inverter circuit. In this rectifier circuit, we have to connect nearby source, and then in this inverter circuit we have to connect the 3-phase transformer. Okay, here the transformer constant is Vt equal to N2 by N1. That is N2 is the turns in secondary side and then turns in primary side. There is Bt equal to N2 by N1. Okay, here V1 and V2. This is the secondary voltage and this is the primary voltage. Okay, so this is a smoothing inductor LD, and then the current flows through this LD is ID. Okay, so this is the static Kramer system circuit diagram. So in this in the previous, we have to discuss about the rotor resistance control method. So in this rotor resistance control method, the slip power is wasted in the rotor circuit resistance. So instead of wasting the slip power in the rotor circuit resistance, it can be converted to 50 Hz AC and pumped back to the line. So here the slip power can flow only in one direction. Okay, so this method of drive, which is also called a static Kramer system. So the static Kramer drive, which offers the speed control only for subsynchronous speed, not a super synchronous speed. Here you have to control the speed only for subsynchronous speed. That is, the speed can be controlled only less than the synchronous speed is possible in this static Kramer drive. Okay, that is a subsynchronous speed. Okay, and then in this method, the slip power which is taken from the rotor and it is rectified to DC voltage here. Okay, and it is rectified to DC voltage, that is AC to DC by using this rectifier circuit. And then there is a 3-phase diode bridge rectifier. Here the inductor LD, there is a smoothing inductor LD which smoothens the ripples in the rectified voltage VD. Here we have to smoothen the rectified voltage, okay, LD. And then this DC power which is converted to AC power by using line commutated inverter. This is the inverter circuit. Here we have to give the DC power to this inverter. It can be used to convert DC into AC, okay, by using this inverter, that is the line commutated inverter. So the rectifier and inverter are both line commutated by alternating EMFs which is appearing at the slip rings and supply bus bars respectively. Okay, so here the slip power which flows from rotor circuit to supply. So this method is also called a constant torque drive. So the power flows from rotor to supply, then only this method is also called as a constant torque drive. So this static Kramer drive, it has been very popular in large power pump and fan type drives because the range of speed control is limited nearly but less than the synchronous speed. So this method of speed control is economical because the rectifier and the inverter only have to carry the slip power of the rotor, which is considerably less than the input power to the stator. So now the simple method one is the mathematical analysis. Here the rotor voltage for phase which is equal to the S into E2. S is nothing but the slip, and then E2. Assuming the commutation overlap is negligible, the DC output voltage of the uncontrolled 3-phase bridge rectifier, that is the diode bridge rectifier, is VD equal to 3 into maximum value of input line voltage divided by pi. That is 3 by pi into maximum value of input line voltage. Here the maximum value of input line voltage is Vm. Okay, so 3 by pi, instead of Vm we have to substitute root 2 into VL RMS. Okay, so VL RMS we have to substitute root 3 into VPH RMS. Okay, so there is root 3 into root 2 into VPH here. Okay, already we have VPH equal to S into E2, so we have to substitute VPH equal to S into E2, that is 3 into root 6 S into E2, we have to substitute VPH, that is the rotor voltage for phase, divided by pi. This is VD, and then this is in this transformer ratio we have to write E2 divided by N2 dash equal to V1 divided by N1 dash. After rearranging this we get E2 equal to V1 into N2 dash by N1 dash, which is equal to B into V1. Okay, B is nothing but that is N2 dash by N1 dash. N2 dash is nothing but effective rotor turns per phase. N1 dash which represents the effective stator turns per phase. Okay, so here what is V1? V1 is equal to the supply voltage per phase. Okay, and then already we solved VD equal to 3 root 6 divided by S into E2. So E2 we have to substitute E2 equal to what? Already we solved E2 equal to B into V1. So we substitute here S into E2. Instead of E2 we have to substitute B into V1 here. Okay, so what is the value of 3 root 6 divided by pi? That is 3 into root 6 divided by 3.14. That is the value is 2.339 into SBV1. Okay, so the average DC output voltage for 3-phase line commutator inverter is VDC equal to minus 3 root 6 divided by pi V1 cos alpha. Why you have to include minus sign here means that is the firing angle alpha, which is vary from 90 to 180 degree. So we have to include here minus, that is a 3-phase line commutator inverter. So only we have to include minus here. That is 3 root 6 by pi is 2.339 V1 cos alpha. Okay, so now we have to equate these two equations. There is a 2 point here, that is equation number 21 and equation number 22. Have to equate these two equations. That is 2.339 SBV1 equal to minus 2.339 V1 cos alpha. So we have to equate this 2.339 and minus 2.339 V1 cos alpha. 2.339 339 get cancelled. The remaining V1 get cancelled. The remaining SB equal to minus cos alpha. So the slip S equal to minus 1 by B cos alpha. So if B equal to 1, we have to substitute here B equal to 1. At the time of B equal to 1, what happens to the slip? The slip value S equal to minus cos alpha. Okay, for firing angle alpha equal to 90 degree, we have to substitute alpha equal to 90 degree here. So what is cos alpha? Cos alpha is what? Cos alpha is cos 90 degree is 0. Okay, so the entire slip value is equal to 0. Okay, for alpha equal to 180 degree, here you have to substitute 180 degree, the slip is 1. Okay, so the speed is 0. So it indicates no load speed of the motor can be controlled from near standstill to full speed, as the delay angle alpha is varied from 180 degree to 90 degree. Okay, here 180 degree to 90 degree, you have to vary the delay angle alpha. The motor speed can be controlled from near standstill to full speed. So the transformer turns ratio B, BT, where here BT equal to already we know per phase input voltage to inverter V2 divided by per phase supply voltage divided by V1. Okay, here the AC output voltage across inverter terminal is V2 equal to BT V1, the inverter DC voltage VDC. Here VDC equal to minus 3 root 6 divided by pi V2 cos alpha. Already we write here minus here minus 3 root 6 divided by pi V1 cos alpha. Now we have to write minus 3 root 6 divided by pi V2 cos alpha. Okay, so here there is a AC output voltage across inverter terminals is V2. So we have to substitute V2 here. V2 is nothing but BT into V1. We have to substitute V2 equal to BT V1. Okay, so the value of 3 root 6 divided by pi equal to 2.339. So minus 2.339 BT V1 cos alpha, which is equal to VDC. Okay, now we have to equate the equation number 21 and equation number 24. This is the equation number 21, that is VD equal to 2.339 SB V1. Now minus 2.339 BT V1 cos alpha. So we have to equate these two equations. The slip S equal to minus BT by BT divided by B cos alpha. So this is the slip value. So that's all about the static Cramer system. So the next one is in this static Cramer drive, we have to discuss about the closed loop control. There is a closed loop control for static Cramer drive. Here it is in the form of closed loop. So here we have to sense the speed by using this tachometer. The slip ring induction motor speed can be sensed by using this tachometer, and this is the reference speed. You have to give the reference speed, and the actual motor speed is given to this comparator, and then the error signal which is given to the speed amplifier. Already we sensed about the actual current here, and then the set current here. The output of the speed amplifier is you have to consider as a set current. So the set current and actual current you have to compare here, and then after comparing these two current, we have to feed into this current amplifier. So the current amplifier output which is given to this firing circuit. The firing circuit can be used to control the inverter circuit. There is a line commutated inverter. Here we have to use this diode bridge rectifier. Okay, the slip ring induction motor. This is the current limit feedback. Okay, so that's all about the construction of this closed loop control for static Cramer drive. So in this closed loop control for this static Cramer drive, the actual speed which is fed back from the tacho generator. Here you have to use this tacho generator. Already we discussed the actual speed which is fed back from the tacho generator, which is coupled to this slip ring induction motor. So this actual speed which is compared with the reference voltage. Here there is the reference speed. So the error voltage here, this is the error voltage here. We have to the error voltage which is given to the speed amplifier. Okay, so the speed amplifier, and then sets the desired current reference. So the current feedback loop adjusts the current of the system by controlling the firing angle of the inverter. Here we have to control the firing angle of the inverter. Okay, so this current determines the motor torque, the current signal which is proportional to the AC current of the inverter. Okay, so this is compared with the current reference set by the speed amplifier. So the error voltage which is amplified by current amplifier here. Okay, which is amplified by current amplifier here. So and which is fed to the firing angle control circuit of the inverter. After that we have to send the current amplifier signal to the firing angle circuit of the inverter. So in this system, the speed error which produces a motor torque. Here the speed error, we have to generate a speed error here. The speed error which generates a motor torque. Okay, so the motor torque which again reduces the error. So the maximum current limit, it can be set to any desired value by setting the current reference through the speed error amplifier. So the current can be limited to any of the desired value, even it under the stalled condition. Okay, so that's all about the Cramer system. And the first topic we discussed about the conventional Cramer system, and then the second one is the second one is the improved version or the modified version of the conventional Cramer system. After that, we have to discuss about the static Cramer system here. After that, have to discuss this closed loop control for static Cramer drive. Okay, so that's all about this Cramer system. Now we are going to discuss about a service system. So in this service system, it is nothing but is similar to the Cramer system, but only the difference is that in the Cramer system is the feedback, okay, is mechanical, and in the service system the return power is electrical. Okay, this is the main difference between this Cramer system and the service system. The feedback is mechanical in this Cramer system, but the feedback is that is the return power is electrical in the service system. The different types of service system is, one is conventional service drive, the another one is the static service drive, which is similar to the Cramer system. Here also we have the two types, one is the conventional service, another one is the static service drive. Okay, so this is the circuit diagram for the conventional service drive. So here the rotary converter which converts the slip power into DC power. Here the rotary converter, here how to use the rotary converter. Here the rotary converter can be used to convert the slip power into a DC power, because you have to give the DC power to this DC motor. The DC power, the rotary converter and the DC motor is coupled. Okay, so the slip power can be converted to DC power by using this rotary converter. So the DC power which is given to this DC motor. Okay, this is the external field, is the field regulator. You have to give this supply to this field as a external. Okay, so the DC motor which is coupled with this induction generator. So the induction generator which converts here, this is the induction generator. So here the DC motor and induction generator is coupled. Okay, these two motors are the motors and the generator is coupled. So the induction generator which converts the mechanical power into electrical power, because it is a generator, so it converts the mechanical power into electrical power and returns it to the supply line. Okay, that's the point we already discussed. The only difference in this Cramer system and the service system is the feedback. Okay, the Cramer system the feedback is mechanical, but in the service system the feedback, that is the return power, is electrical. Here we have to use the induction generator, so the return power is electrical here, because induction generator converts the mechanical power into electrical power. Okay, the slip ring induction motor speed, it can be controlled by varying the field regulator of the DC motor. Here we have to use one field regulator. By varying this field regulator, we have to control the DC motor speed. Okay, so that's all about this conventional service drive. So only difference is feedback. Okay, here we have to use induction generator. It converts the mechanical power into electrical power. The remaining things are same. Here I have to use the same rotary converter. The rotary converter which converts the slip power into a DC power, which can be fed to the DC motor. Okay, and then DC motor and induction generator is coupled. Okay, so the induction generator which converts the mechanical power into electrical power, and it returns to the supply line. So that's all about this conventional service drive. The next one is static service system. In the static service system, we have another two types. That is a DC link static service drive. The another one is cycloconverter static service drive. So for the speed control of slip ring induction motor, both below and above synchronous speed, that is static service drive system is used. Okay, so this system can again be classified as DC link static service drive and the cycloconverter static service drive. Okay, so in this static service drive, the below synchronous speed is also possible and the above synchronous speed is also possible. So only we have to use this static service drive system. So first we have to discuss about DC link static service drive. In this DC link static service drive, this system which consists of a slip ring induction motor here, and then this is the one side you have to connect a rectifier, the another side you have to connect a inverter circuit, in between that is a smoothing inductor LD, and then one transformer. Here the power flows in only one direction, that is slip power. Here this is the power flow direction, one is the slip power, the another one is the rectifier. Here the bridge 1 and then inverter bridge 2. After that it power flows from inverter to transformer and then transformer to supply. So this is the power flow diagram. So here in this DC link static service drive, it is used for both subsynchronous speed and super synchronous speed operation. So in this subsynchronous speed operation, the slip power which is removed from the rotor circuit and it is pumped back into the AC supply. So in the system, when the machine is operated at a subsynchronous speed, that is below the base speed, okay, if the machine is operated at the subsynchronous speed, so at the time the phase controlled bridge 1, here the phase controlled bridge 1 which operates as a rectifier, and that is when the machine is operated at subsynchronous speed, the phase controlled bridge 1 which operates as a rectifier mode, and bridge 2 which operates as a inverter mode. Okay, there is nothing but if it is operates in subsynchronous speed, this first bridge it operates as a rectifier, the second bridge it operates as a inverter in this subsynchronous speed operation. Okay, so in other words, you have to mention the bridge 1 as a firing angle which is varied from 0 to 90 degree, and then bridge 2 which the firing angle varied from 90 degree to 180 degree, that is more than 90 degree. Okay, in other words, you have to tell the bridge 1 has a firing angle which is less than 90 degree, and the bridge 2 has the firing angle which is greater than 90 degree. Then only it operates as a inverter. Okay, if the firing angle is less than 90 degree, so the converter which operates as a rectifier, the firing angle which is greater than 90 degree, the converter which operates as a inverter. Okay, that's the firing angle varied from 90 degree to 180 degree. Here then this rectifier mode, the firing angle varied from 0 to 90 degree, that is less than 90 degree. Okay, here the power flows from only in one direction, that is a slip power which flows to the rectifier, there is a bridge 1 circuit, and then again it flows to inverter circuit in the bridge 2, and then a transformer, and then it returns back to the supply. This is the power flow diagram. So the second one is super synchronous speed operation. So in this super synchronous speed operation, so the additional power which is fed into the rotor circuit at a slip frequency. So here the additional power which is fed into the rotor circuit at a slip frequency. So here when the machine is operated at super synchronous speed, in the previous mode the machine is operated at a subsynchronous speed. Okay, but here the machine is operated at a super synchronous speed. So the bridge circuit is varies, that is the phase controlled bridge 1 acts as a inverter, and the phase controlled bridge 2 acts as a rectifier. Okay, if it is act as a inverter, in the first bridge it acts as a inverter, the firing angle is greater than 90 degree. If it is the second bridge, it operates as a rectifier, the firing angle is less than 90 degree, that is 0 to 90 degree. Okay, that's the opposite of the first mode. Okay, in this super synchronous speed operation, the machine is operated at super synchronous speed. So at the time the phase controlled bridge 2 here, this is the bridge 2, this is bridge 2, the bridge 2 which operates as a rectifier, and then bridge 1 which operates as a inverter. If it is an inverter, the firing angle which is varied from 90 degree to 180 degree. In this second bridge, there is a rectifier, so the firing angle varied from 0 to 90 degree, that is the less than 90 degree. Okay, it's the power flow, and then so that's all about the super synchronous speed operation. Okay, so this is the circuit diagram for super synchronous speed operation. So in this circuit diagram, the power flows from this supply, and then a transformer, and then bridge 2, and then bridge 1, and then rotor circuit. in the previous circuit, the power flows from here, the slip ring induction motor, there is a rotor circuit to rectifier, and then inverter, and then transformer, and then supply line. So this is the circuit diagram for subsynchronous speed operation. And in super synchronous speed operation, the circuit diagram is somewhat different. That is bridge 1 and bridge 2 is varied. That is the bridge 1 acts as inverter and the bridge 2 acts as a rectifier in super synchronous speed operation. So at the time the power flow direction also is varied from the subsynchronous speed operation. There is a supply, and then transformer, and then bridge 2, and then bridge 1, and then rotor circuit. Okay, so this is the power flow diagram. So here the synchronous speed, the rotor voltage is low. Near synchronous speed, the rotor voltage is very low, and forced commutation, it must be employed in this inverter, which makes the scheme less attractive. Okay, so the replacement of 6 diodes by 6 SCRs, which increases the converter cost and also necessitates the introduction of the slip frequency gating circuit. Okay, so in this static service drive, the second type is cycloconverter static service drive. So in this cycloconverter static service drive, you have to use more number of SCRs. So this is the major drawback in this cycloconverter static service drives. So if you are using this more number of SCRs, the control circuit is very complex. Okay, so and also the converter cost also is very high if you are using this more number of SCRs in this cycloconverter static service drive. So this is the major drawback in this cycloconverter static service drive. But here we have to flow the power from one direction to another direction. There is a bidirectional power flow. Okay, so from supply to here in this drive, there is a power flow from supply to the rotor circuit. But in previous diagram, there is a power flows from rotor circuit to the supply. But here in this cycloconverter static service drive, the power flows in both the direction. There is the bidirectional slip power flow. Okay, the slip power, which is represents S into PAG. That is the power flows from both the direction. Here we have to use the transformer, the cycloconverter static service drive. So in this the Kramer drive system has only a forward motoring mode. This is a one quadrant operation. But in this system, it is applicable for both motoring and regeneration. But in the Kramer system, it has operates only in the one mode, that is a forward motoring mode. But here we have to use a motoring mode as well as a regenerating mode in both subsynchronous and super synchronous range of speed. Okay, that is how to use 4 modes. Okay, one is subsynchronous motoring, another one is super synchronous motoring, and then next third one is subsynchronous regeneration, and then fourth one is super synchronous regeneration. So here we have to use 4 modes of operation in this cycloconverter static service drive. But in this Kramer system, we have to use at a time only one mode, that is a forward motoring mode. It is a one quadrant operation, so we have to use only one mode, that is a forward motoring mode. In this system only we have to applicable for both motoring and regenerating mode, that is in both subsynchronous and super synchronous speed of operation. Okay, so the dual bridge converter system, it can be replaced by here. It can be replaced by 3-phase controlled line commutator cycloconverter. Here the slip power flow in either direction. So the various modes of operation can be explained as follows. Assuming the motor shaft torque which is constant and the losses in the motor and the cycloconverter are negligible. So this is the mode 1. The mode 1 is nothing but the subsynchronous motoring, and then mode 2 is nothing but the super synchronous motoring. First mode 1 and mode 2 can act as a motoring mode, and then mode 3 and mode 4 is a regeneration mode. But in mode 1 it is a subsynchronous motoring, mode 2 is super synchronous motoring, mode 3 is a subsynchronous regeneration, and mode 4 is a super synchronous regeneration. Okay, so in this first mode, which is similar to that of static Kramer system, that is a static input or R gap power flow, that is PAG, which remains constant, and slip power S into PAG, which is proportional to slip. That is the slip is in positive in mode 1, and it is returned back to the line through the cycloconverter. Here the slip is positive and the slip power is also positive, there is plus S into PAG is also positive. Okay, So this is mode 1 operation. And in mode 2, super synchronous motoring. In this mode, the shaft speed which increases beyond the synchronous speed. So the slip which becomes negative here, the slip becomes negative, that is minus s, and then slip power is absorbed by the rotor. So it is absorbed by the rotor, so the slip power is represented as minus s into PAG. So here the slip power s into PAG which supplements the air gap power PAG for the total mechanical power output. There is 1 plus s into PAG. Here we have to add this 2 power, here PAG and then here PAG. Okay, so 1 PAG plus s into PAG. Okay, so we have to write here as a 1 plus s into PAG. So therefore the supplies slip power in addition to the stator input power. So during this condition, the slip voltage is reversed. So here the slip voltage is reversed because the slip is in negative. Okay, then slip power is also in negative. So the slip voltage is reversed so that the slip frequency induced the rotating magnetic field is opposite to that of the stator. So this is the mode 2, that is a super synchronous motoring operation. In this mode 3, that is a subsynchronous regeneration operation. So in regenerative braking condition, the shaft which is driven by the load and the mechanical energy which is converted into electric energy, because it is in the regeneration mode. So the mechanical energy can be converted into electrical energy. So with a constant negative shaft torque, so the mechanical power input to this shaft, that is PM equal to here 1 minus s into PAG. If the PM, the mechanical power PM equal to 1 minus s into PAG increases with the speed, and this equals the electric power fed to the line. Okay, so in this subsynchronous regeneration mode, there is a subsynchronous speed range. The slip s is positive here, the slip s is positive, and then slip power is minus s into PAG. Okay, so the air gap power, that is a PAG, is negative here. The slip power s into PAG which is fed to the rotor from the cycloconverter. Okay, so that the total power the total air gap power is constant here. So slip voltage is positive phase sequence, because it is a, here the slip is positive, so the slip voltage is also a positive phase sequence. Okay, so in this subsynchronous speed, the cycloconverter which supplies a DC excitation current to the rotor circuit, and this machine which behaves as a synchronous generator. Okay, so here the main application is a variable speed wind generation system, the regeneration system. So it is applicable to variable speed wind generation system, not a constant speed, variable speed. Okay, so and then the mode 4, this mode 4 is nothing but a super synchronous regeneration mode. So in this super synchronous regeneration mode, here the stator output which remains constant, but the mechanical power input is reflected as slip power output. Okay, here the slip is negative, and then the air gap power is plus into SPAG. Okay, so this is 1 plus S into PAG, but in previous case 1 minus S into PAG, that is the mechanical power which is input to this shaft, that is PM equal to 1 minus S into PAG, increases with the speed, but here 1 plus S into PAG in this fourth mode of operation, that is a super synchronous regeneration. Okay, so this is the characteristics. In this is for mode 1 and mode 2. So in this mode 1 and mode 2, there is a slip power input is minus S into PAG. This is for in this mode 2, and then in mode 1 the slip power output is S into PAG, like that here. In mode 1 plus into SPAG, in mode 2 minus S into PAG. Here in mode 1 plus S into PAG, there is a slip power output is S into PAG for mode 1, and then the slip power there is a slip power input for mode 2 is minus S into PAG for mode 2. Okay, so here the slip flows from this direction to this direction, that is minus 1 to 1. And then this is for mode 3 and mode 4. And then in mode 3 the slip power input is minus S into PAG. For mode 4 the slip power input is minus S into PAG. Here and the slip power flows from that is S equal to minus 1 to S equal to 1. So the advantage of static air-based drive. So in this method the problem of commutation which is nearer the synchronous speed disappears. So the second point is cycloconverter which can easily operate as a phase controlled rectifier supplying DC current in the rotor and permitting true synchronous machine operation. Then next one is the near sinusoidal current waves in the rotor, which reduce harmonic loss and a machine over excitation capacity, which permits leading power factor operation on the stator side. So if it is a leading power factor operation on the stator side, so the line's power factor is unity in this method. Okay, so the cycloconverter is to be controlled so that its output frequency which tracks the slip frequency. Okay, this is the advantage of static shear based drive, and then disadvantage of static shear based drive is cycloconverter cost increases. Okay, this is the disadvantage, and then the control of the shear based drive is somewhat complex. That is we have to use more number of SCR in the cycloconverter device, so the converter cost also very high, so the control circuit is also very complex. So the next one is vector controlled induction motor drives. So in this vector control, which decouples the two components of the stator current, one is providing the air gap flux, the another is producing the torque. So it provides the independent control of flux and torque, and control here the control characteristics is linearized by providing the independent control of flux and torque. So this is the circuit diagram. This is a separately excited DC motor diagram. So generally a vector controlled induction motor drive, it can operate as a separately excited DC motor drive. So only we have to use here a separately excited DC motor diagram. So IA, here this is the phasor diagram. Here IA is nothing but the armature current and IF is nothing but the field current. So this is the flux linkage for armature circuit, and this is the flux linkage for field current, psi F and psi A. In a DC machine, the developed torque which is given by TD equal to KT IA into IF. Here KT is nothing but a torque constant, and IA is equal to armature current. Armature current is torque component. Okay, IA is nothing but the torque component, and IF is nothing but the field component. So here the construction of a DC machine is that field flux linkage is IF, which is produced by IF. In the previous diagram, it is field current is IF, which is produced by psi F, and then armature, and it is perpendicular to the armature flux linkage is IA, which is produced by IA. So here the flux linkage for armature and flux linkage for field, these two are in the phase difference is 90 degree. So that is in the perpendicular, so it is the angle difference is 90 degree. So these space vector which are in stationary in space are orthogonal or decoupled in nature. So due to this, DC motor has fast transient response. Okay, but in this induction motor it cannot give such a fast response due to this inherent coupling problem. So in this induction motor, here there is a coupling problem is available, so there is somewhat lagging in this transient response. So DC motor has fast transient response, but in induction motor it cannot give such a fast transient response due to this coupling problem. So the next one is DC machine. Like performance, it can be extended to an induction motor. That is the machine is controlled in a synchronously rotating reference frame. That is D component to Q component, that is DE to QE, where the sinusoidal variables appears as a DC quantities in the steady state. So this is the two inputs. One is IDS star, another one is IQS star. IDS star is nothing but the direct axis component of stator current. IQS is Q is nothing but the quadrature, D is the direct axis. So IDS star is direct axis component of stator current, and another one is IQS star is the quadrature axis component of stator current. So these two current are synchronously rotating reference frame. So with this vector control, IDS is analogous to this field current, that is IF and IQS, which is analogous to the armature current IA of DC motor. Okay. And then the torque equation is that torque developed in this induction motor is TD equal to Km psi F and then IF. Here psi F and IF can be replaced by IDS and IQS, that is TD equal to KT, that is a constant KT, and then IDS, that is psi F is replaced by, there is a flux linkage is replaced by a direct axis component, and IF is replaced by quadrature axis component, there is IQS. Here psi r is nothing but the absolute peak value of sinusoidal space flux linkage vector psi f. And then IDS is field component and IQS is torque component. We already discussed. There is a direct axis component and then quadrature axis component. So this is the phasor diagram we already discussed. So the above figure which shows the space vector diagram for the vector control. This is the vector diagram. The one side is the control side, the another one side is the machine side. So here IDS star, which is aligned in the direction of motor flux, that is flux linkage into IQS star, which is perpendicular to flux linkage under all operating conditions. So the space vector which rotates synchronously, if it is rotates synchronously means that is direct axis component and quadrature axis component, it is in the synchronously rotating at a frequency omega s. Thus the vector control which must ensure the correct orientation, which ensures the correct orientation of this space vectors, and it generates the control input, that is the implementation principle is D to Q model. Here the inverter which generates, here the inverter which generates a current, that is IA, IB and IC, and in these three currents are in the response to the corresponding command currents IA star, here IA star, IB star and IC star from the controller. So the machine terminals current IA, IB and IC are the converted into direct and quadrature axis component. That is IDS star and IQS star. They are the direct axis and the quadrature axis component by 3-phase to 2-phase transformation. This is the 3-phase to 2-phase transformation. So these two components are converted into synchronously rotating frame, that is into IDS and IQS components. Okay. So here a vector components, that is theta, that is cos theta and sin theta. Here we have to use cos theta e and sin theta e as a control in this DQ components, and then here also and then control side also we have to use this cos theta and sin theta e, that is the unit vector components. Before applying them to the machine, you have to use this cos theta 2 and sin theta 2. Okay, the machine is represented by the internal conversion into DE and QE model. So the controller which makes the two stage of transformation, here is the controller which makes the two stage of transformation. One is IDS and IQS. This is the DQ component. The DQ component can be converted into DE to DS. After that DSQS to DSQS to ABC component. Okay, the output of this block is IA star, IB star and IC star. So the 2-phase to 3-phase conversion here. After that the inverter unity gain in the 3-phase can be converted into 2-phase. That is IAB, IA, IB and IC can be converted to IDS and IQS. That is in DE and QE model in this starting. So that is here the control current IDS star and IQS star, which are corresponds to the machine current, that is IDS and IQS. In addition to that, we have to include the unit vector, that is cos theta e and sin theta e. These two components are the unit vector component, which ensures the correct alignment of this IDS current with the flux vector and IQS current, which is perpendicular to the control. So note that the transformation and inverse transformation, which including the inverter, ideally do not incorporate any dynamics. Therefore the response to IDS and IQS, which is instantaneous, except for any delays due to computational and sampling times. So the next topic is unit 4, that is synchronous motor drives. So in this synchronous motor drives, we have to discuss about some introduction. That is synchronous motor drives are the close competitors to this induction motor drives. That is, you have to use this synchronous motor drives in any many of the industrial applications that is expensive than the induction motor drives. So here the main advantage is that efficiency is higher, but it tends to lower the life cycle cost. So the development of semiconductor variable frequency sources such as inverters and cyclic converters has allowed. So they are used in variable speed application such as high power and high speed compressors, blowers, induced and forced draft fans, main line traction, servo drives, etc. So these are the application of this variable speed synchronous motor drives. So in this synchronous motor variable speed drives, first you have to discuss about variable frequency control. So we know that synchronous speed is directly proportional to the frequency. Similar to the induction motor, the constant flux operation is below the base speed, which is achieved by operating the synchronous speed with the constant V/F ratio, that is voltage bar frequency ratio. Once the rated voltage is reached at the base speed, so at the time the machine is operated at the rated terminal voltage and variable frequency for higher speeds. So the pull-out torque, which is constant for constant flux operation, while it is determined to decrease with the increase in frequency for higher speed. So here the variable frequency control, we can use the following two methods. One is a separate controlled mode, another one is a self-controlled mode. In this separate control mode, we can call it as a true synchronous mode, and then the second mode is self-control mode. So first we have to discuss about the first mode, that is a separate controlled mode. Separate control mode is nothing but it is open loop mode, but in self-control mode you have to call it as a closed loop mode. So the separate control mode, it is also called as a open loop mode, so in which the stator supply frequency which is controlled from an independent oscillator. So this is the circuit diagram for open loop voltage bar frequency speed control of multiple permanent magnet synchronous motor. So here we have to use this command block and then flux control block. Here we have to use this rectifier, and then rectifier we have to give the external AC supply, that is single phase or three phase AC supply. So in between the rectifier and inverter we have to use a link, that is L and C. After that inverter we have to, the output of the inverter which is fed into the permanent magnet synchronous reluctance motor. So here stator supply frequency which is controlled from an independent oscillator. So the frequency which is changed from initial to desired value, so that the difference between the synchronous and rotor speed is always very small. So so that the rotor which always track the changes in this synchronous speed. So this is the best method for this multiple synchronous method, that is the permanent magnet machine drives, where this closed loop tracking is essential for this application. There is a application such as spinning mills, etc. And then when the desired synchronous speed is reached, so the rotor pulls into step after hunting oscillation. So this method can also be used for smooth starting and regenerative braking. So this is an example for true synchronous mode. It is also called as a open loop voltage bar frequency speed control. So here all the machines are connected in parallel. So here the permanent magnet synchronous reluctance motor are connected in parallel to the same inverter. We have to use only one inverter. So in this inverter we have to connect all the permanent magnet synchronous machine in parallel connection. So it moves in response to the command frequency F star. It's the command frequency we have to give F star, and then the F star after the frequency command F star after passing through the delay circuit which is applied to the voltage source inverter. Either the inverter is voltage source inverter or voltage fed PWM inverter we have to use here. So this is done so that the rotor speed which is able to track the changes in frequency, that is from 0 to desired value. Okay, and then next one is flux control block, which is used to change the stator voltage with the frequency so as to maintain the constant flux which is similar to the induction motor for the speed below base speed, and the constant terminal voltage for the speed above the base speed. So this is similar to that of the induction motor, that is you have to maintain the constant flux for speed below base speed and the constant terminal voltage for speed above base speed. So in this machine it can be built with a damper winding to prevent the oscillation. We have to use a damper winding in this separate control mode to prevent the hunting oscillation. So the front end of the voltage fed PWM inverter which is supplied from the utility line through this rectifier. Here we have to use utility line through this rectifier and a LC filter. Okay, and also the main disadvantage is we have to use damper winding in this separate control mode because it is a open loop mode. So we have to use a damper winding to prevent the hunting oscillation in this separate control mode. So the next one is self control mode. So in this self control mode, it is also called as a closed loop mode. It is a closed loop control. So here we have to we does not use any damper winding because it does not have a hunting oscillation. It is eliminated automatically. So it does not require this damper winding in this self control mode. So here the supply frequency which is changed so that the synchronous speed is same as that of rotor speed. So the rotor cannot pull out of slip and the hunting oscillations are eliminated. So if the hunting oscillations is eliminated automatically, so the so this mode it does not require any damper winding. So this is the circuit diagram for this self control mode. So in this circuit diagram it consists of inverter and then control circuit. In this control circuit you have to give the delay command here, that is in this motor we have to sense the speed by using this position encoder, this absolute magnet position encoder. After that we have to give the theta e to this control circuit. The control circuit can be used to control the firing angle of this inverter circuit. So the stator winding of the machine which is fed by an inverter that generates a variable frequency variable voltage sinusoidal supply. So here in this previous method there is a separate control mode where the controlling of inverter frequency which is inverter frequency is from an independent oscillator, but here the frequency and the phase of the output wave are controlled by an absolute position sensor. Because it is a closed loop mode, so only we have to use sensor here, that is a absolute position sensor which is mounted on a machine shaft. In this machine also it is mounted, there is absolute magnet position sensor is used in this self control mode. So it gives the self control characteristics. So here pulse train from position sensor, it may be delayed by the external command. So in this type of control, the machine behavior which is decided by a torque angle and a voltage current. Such a machine, it can be looked upon a DC motor, have its commutator which is replaced by a converter here. In the previous circuit it has a commutator, but now it can be replaced by a converter here. So the converter which is connected to the stator. So the self-controlled motor it runs the properties of a DC motor both under steady state and a dynamic condition. So therefore it is called as a commutatorless mode. So there is no commutator is available in the previous, but in DC motor it have its commutator, but in this synchronous motor drive it can be replaced by a converter which is connected to a stator. So it has a controlled characteristics, there is a steady state and a dynamic conditions. So this motor is also called as a commutatorless motor. So these machines have better stability behavior, there is a better steady state response and a better dynamic response. So here the firing pulse for the inverter can be obtained from the phase position of stator voltages. In case the rotor position sensor can be dispensed with any synchronous motor or over excited, they can supply the reactive power required for this commutating thyristors. So in case a synchronous machine, it can supply with the inverter which is similar to the line commutated inverter, okay, where the firing angle are synchronized with the line voltages. So here the firing angles are synchronized with the machine voltage or line voltage. So then this voltage can be used for both the control as well as commutation. So here the frequency of the inverter will be same. In this self-control mode, the frequency of the inverter will be same for the as that of the machine voltages. So this type of inverters are also called load commutated inverter. It is also represented as LCI. Here the commutation has simple configuration due to the absence of diodes, capacitor and auxiliary thyristors. Here I have to use only inverter and then control circuit and then a synchronous motor. So it is very simple configuration due to the absence of diodes, capacitors and auxiliary thyristors. Thank you.